Welcome to Walk the Parks. My name is Blake. Today we're going to do a full hike of the Entrada Canyon Trail. This trail is located in Goblin Valley State Park, Utah, near Hanksville, Utah. We are starting from the campground in the park. This is the very end of the campground, and it's really not too big a park especially in terms of driving, so it should be pretty easy to get started here. So there's that. The first thing I want to say is this place is absolutely amazing. Goblin Valley State Park is just an incredible place. I would highly recommend going. Even this hike right here is super unique. Like right here, you might look at it and be like, oh, whatever, it's just another desert hike. But just wait a few minutes here and you'll see how amazing it really is. This hike itself is amazing, and then there's a number of other hikes that are also just incredible. And basically that would be kind of the main area. I'd recommend that. Like you go to the Valley of the Goblins, and that's incredibly beautiful. You can kind of drive right up there. It has all these goblins, and you can climb on them, and you can just kind of walk around in them, and they're very cool. And you might be thinking, it has all these goblins. What does that mean? A goblin is like a small hoodoo. It's like a little small rock formation. They almost look like some of them are human size, or maybe half human size, or maybe quadruple human size, but something along those lines. One thing I will say about this hike is that it can be a tiny bit tricky. Like sometimes you might think like, am I on the trail? I don't know. So kind of keep that in mind. Obviously there's signs, like we just passed a post with some arrows with an arrow on it pointing straight. And then as you can see on the ground right now, there are a bunch of rocks kind of guiding us. So use that. The majority of this trail though follows like you're at the bottom of a drainage, and it's just so cool. So just give it a couple more minutes and we'll be there. They say that this starts at the group campsite, which we just kind of passed the group campsite road. But like I said, this place is absolutely, absolutely incredible. So why would you watch this video? I think there's three reasons. Number one would be you're planning on going here or want to check it out to see if you want to go here. And this kind of fills in the gap where guidebooks and apps leave off, right? You can have descriptions, you can have reviews, you can have all the information, but this is the actual full hike in its entirety. I guess it's only one way. So if you want to see it the opposite way, maybe there's some other resources there, but I doubt it. This hike is absolutely awesome, as I said. So anyway, if you're considering going here or just looking to check it out, highly recommended. I mean, look at it already. It's so cool. You're just kind of at the bottom of this drainage. It would be kind of scary if it rained a ton. I think a lot of the stuff in this park, like just the way the soil is, would become extremely slick. It's like this clay, sand. I think it would be extremely slick. So if it was raining heavily or if the trails were wet, might be worth avoiding this, but otherwise it's absolutely amazing. I just loved it here. I was lucky enough to get a cloudy day here, but the one thing to be aware of in this entire area is the sun. It can just be relentless. I mean, I know a lot of people think like, sunshine and heat, that's awesome. And in a lot of ways it is, but it can be also quite miserable, like in and even kind of dangerous, particularly in the dead of summer, because really you have no shade to kind of get away from it at all, and you're exerting yourself. And a lot of times in the desert, you don't really sweat, so you might not realize how much fluids and how much salt you're losing. So it's important to just kind of stay hydrated, and more than anything to kind of keep those salts up. You can overdo it with water, and then you can get like hyponatremia. So you want to kind of don't drink too much. You want to drink just enough, but salt is the big thing. You really want to keep having salt. All right, so right here, we're about to cross another road, and there's some mountain biking trails over here, but we're going to kind of cross the road. And I did get, I was kind of confused for a second. So this is kind of a confusing intersection. Good to watch here. So you kind of go and just cross the road, and then you kind of just get into the bottom. You just kind of get into the gully, which kind of surprised me. I cut it out, but I was looking around for a while when I got here and was like, where do I go here? I really have no idea. So So there is a trailhead you can park at over to the right. Honestly, if you're not staying in the campground, that might be a good call. Just park in this campground over to the right. Obviously, there is a dirt road that leads to it, but it's nothing like hardcore. You don't need four-wheel drive or anything. I'm sure you could make it there in any vehicle. You can see a minivan over there, and that's not too big a deal. So if you're starting at the campground, you'd probably do the part that I just did, but otherwise you might want to just park up here, and this is really the best place, or the best part of the trail, I should say. So I did look around and I was like, where do I go? But the answer is you just jump right in the gully and go for it. See, even I'm like, okay. What? Cool area, though. Absolutely beautiful. So you can see me kind of looking around, being like, what? Where do I go? And then it's like, oh, it's actually in the gully. So a second reason for this video, so the first one was, check it out if you're going to go here, see how awesome it really is, or just see if it's worth your time or whatnot. The second is accessibility. I mean, there's a ton of people around the world that for a whole bunch of reasons will never come here. So hopefully this gives you an opportunity to check it out and see what a trail is like, and a bit more immersive, I mean, it's not, most videos are just kind of little snippets of things. This is the full length hike. And as I said, look how cool it is, right? You're just at the bottom of this drainage for most of the rest of the hike, and it's so cool, and it gets steeper too. I just absolutely love this. It's so narrow and so unique. I feel like there could be other trails like this, like if someone wanted to make one, but most places just for whatever reason don't make them like this. Like maybe because it's just at the bottom of the drainage, or I don't know. I really like some of the trails. Same thing with Goblin's Lair. Just so cool. I just feel like they kind of had a different take on trail building. I don't know whether it's just because it's a state park and not a national park, and then maybe they have different ideas, people who own them, in terms of what is a good trail or what trails should be built or whatnot. But I just absolutely love it here. So the third reason to watch this hike, I think it'd be cool if you're on the treadmill or some sort of exercise equipment at the gym. You could put this on in the background. And of course, or just have it on in the background. I guess the third reason really is just background. A lot of times I'll put my videos on mute and just throw them up on one of my monitors that I'm working on. I'll work on one monitor and have this on in the other one, or if I'm just kind of hanging out in my house, I'll have it on just to kind of provide some kind of cool ambience in the background. Like I said, I usually mute it and I'll listen to music or something like that. But if you're on exercise equipment, hopefully those are kind of three reasons to watch my video. So the Entrada Canyon Trail. This is defined by the Goblin Valley State Park as an adventuresome, moderately strenuous 1.3 mile one-way trail from the campground to the Goblins and back. So if you're at the campground, you don't want to drive over to the Goblins, this would be your best route to and from. I didn't see a single person on the trail, which was cool. I think that's true. I don't remember seeing anybody. I guess we'll see together in the video. And it's really cool. So the trail follows the natural drainage that lends itself to those who enjoy discovering what is around the next corner. So this is all from the Goblin Valley State Park website. Very cool. So as far as general Goblin Valley State Park information, from deposits laid 170 million years ago by a vast inland sea, Goblin Valley State Park was sculpted by forces of nature. Today, thousands of otherworldly stone gnomes inhabit the valley, evidence of this land's unique geologic legacy. These uniquely shaped goblins lure visitors to join them in their desert playground. Dark sky. Goblin Valley has one of the darkest night skies on Earth. Virtually free of any light pollution from populated areas, Goblin Valley is a certified dark sky park and offers unparalleled views of the Milky Way. Be sure to spend some time exploring the different constellations and enjoying the night sky. Yeah, and I will agree with that. This area is supposed to be, around here is the most remote in the lower 48. Like, towns can be quite far away from each other, and even the towns that you get to, like I think you can go to Hanksville, Utah, which is maybe 10 or 20 miles away. But Hanksville's not really a big town. There's like a hotel or two, there's a small grocery store, a couple gas stations, a couple restaurants, and a campground. Really not too much there, which makes it just awesome. If you are in this greater area, I would strongly, strongly encourage, as I just read, to enjoy the night sky because it's absolutely fantastic. Now, as far as geology, Goblin Valley is at the southern end of the San Rafael Swell, which is a massive anticline that was uplifted about 40 to 70 million years ago. The goblins, known scientifically as hoodoos, were formed through the gradual erosion of Entrada sandstone, which was deposited about 170 million years ago when the area was a tidal flat situated next to an ancient sea. As sand washed in with the tides, the surrounding area eroded into the sea, depositing silt and clay. These components are layered to form interbedded sandstone. Nature sculpts the goblins' unearthly shapes from the interbedded sandstone through a process called spheroidal weathering. Because the siltstone and shale layers are softer than the more resistant sandstone layer, they dissolve more quickly. As vertical cracks appear, the sandstone's sharp corners are smoothed by chemical decomposition and erosion, forming the rounded caps and curves of these otherworldly formations. The red cliffs beyond the valley are going through this same process and will gradually expand the goblin landscape over the next few million years. Note how the younger, lighter-colored Curtis Formation caps the Entrada sandstone. So you can kind of see that right here. Like, you kind of see, kind of is eroding down below, and then there's kind of cool shapes like above. That's kind of what the goblins look like. You can take a look at another video, because I kind of end this one before we get to the actual Valley of the Goblins, which this park is most famous for. And it's also very cool. You can just park and kind of go right down there. But like I said, I think this park has a lot more than that. Like, it's awesome to explore this. Little Wild Horse Canyon is fantastic. Goblins Lair and Goblet's Lair are both fantastic. Goblin's Lair does require a little bit of scrambling, so keep that in mind, but nothing super hardcore. Like, you certainly don't need any equipment or anything like that, but if you're uncomfortable with little climbing, and also the trail, like the very end of the trail to get into Goblin's Lair is very steep, so just kind of keep that in mind, especially going down. I kind of slid on my butt a little bit. See, I just love this. It's almost like it's like a slot canyon, and it's just beautiful, and you really feel fully immersed because you look around and of course you can see the sky, but you can't see very far. You're just seeing the canyon walls on either side of you. I absolutely love it. So now, as far as plants and animals, vegetation is limited to hardy desert species, which can endure blowing sand and hot, dry conditions. Plants have adapted by reducing the size of their leaves and producing waxy coatings so that they lose less water through transpiration. Visitors will likely encounter Mormon tea, tumbleweeds, which is Russian thistle, Indian rice grass, and various cacti. Nearby, at slightly higher elevations, are juniper and pinyon pine. As far as animals, jackrabbits, scorpions, kangaroo rats, pronghorn, kit foxes, rattlesnakes, and coyotes are found within and near the park. Most animals in the area are nocturnal, venturing out only in the cooler evenings to hunt and forage for food. And note that pronghorns are very cool. Like, I ran into some people who thought it was a deer, but they're actually kind of like an antelope. I mean, similar to a deer, but they have little pronged horns, and they're incredibly fast. Hard to get really close to a pronghorn. You can get reasonably close, but they just run away. Very smart animal. I feel like cows should take note. You never hear of anyone really eating a pronghorn, whereas the opposite might be true for cows. So cows take note. Run away. Run away. And also, there's kind of a mystery about the pronghorn because of the sheer speed they can run at. They can run faster, like much faster than any animal that would be its predator. So there's kind of some theories about what predators must have lived here in the past or in the same area as pronghorns, because pronghorns are able to run so fast that, the thought is it must be for a reason. Like, it's not just magically can run so fast. They would have to be running from some sort of predator that could also run close to as fast as it. But that doesn't exist anymore. Incredible animal, though. You do see him in this, like, a wide expanse of the western United States around this area. So here we continue. Just absolutely beautiful. So now a few comments about the campground that we started at. So the campground of Goblin Valley State Park, it has 24 sites and a group site and 2 yurts with, and there's also some centrally located restrooms and shower facilities. And they all can be booked at the time of making this video anyway, 16 weeks in advance. Very nice campground. The showers were nice and clean. I enjoyed I took advantage of that. They did, each campground site had a shaded picnic table, which was quite nice. A little bit pricey though, but pretty cool to stay here. I mean, if you are going through, you can stay here. There was some dispersed camping, it looked like, right outside the park, so take a look out for that. There are day use fees too, so if you just want to go here for a day, you do have to pay a fee, and a national park pass won't work because this is a Utah state park. You do have to pay a fee to get in, so keep that in mind. Also, very remote area. I mean, you're pretty much going, it's not too far from like Moab, a couple of hours, but still a couple of hours into the middle of nowhere. As I said, though, you do have Hanksville, which does have gas and stuff, not, maybe 20 miles away from the park, so that's not too bad. As far as safety tips, lightning danger is severe in exposed locations. Seek shelter in a building or vehicle during thunderstorms. I feel like that's true of a lot of this area. It says because you are in exposed locations quite a bit. Like in this area right now, we're not the tallest thing. You look straight ahead of us, and that's quite a bit taller than us. But a lot of times you can be like the thing that sticks up, and that tends to be, of course, what lightning likes the most. It would be the highest object, peaks and ridges and things like that. So as you can see, there's kind of some goblins on this trail, but as we kind of continue through this, just Entrada sandstone, and it's just absolutely beautiful. I don't know, I just absolutely love this hike. What do you guys think when you watch this? Do you think I really want to go here, this looks awesome, or do you think, no, this looks terrible? I'd be surprised at that. Although I remember hearing, I think it was my uncle, I was talking, just kind of raving about how beautiful it is out west, and especially this area, and he kind of responded and was like, well, it's so brown everywhere. I like the green, and that's a fair point. It certainly is quite brown, particularly on this hike, which I really enjoy. I've spent a ton of time on the East Coast as well, which can be incredibly green. Personally, after all my hiking, I have kind of learned, or the thing I've taken away from it is that everywhere is kind of beautiful in its own way, and I kind of respect how unique it is. Like, I just love this area because it's just almost like you're on another planet, and I love that aspect. But water can be hard to come by. You can be quite exposed. Heat can be quite a thing you have to deal with. So, everywhere just has its differences, as with anything else. So, other safety tips here from the park: drink plenty of water, bring at least 1 gallon per person per day in the summer. Goblin Valley is a remote, rugged area. Use caution when hiking. Weather. The desert is a land of extremes. Summer temperatures can reach over 100 degrees Fahrenheit, while low humidity allows evenings to cool off rapidly. Afternoon thunderstorms in late summer provide a refreshing breeze, but also bring the danger of lightning strikes and flash flooding in the nearby slot canyons. And that is no joke. Slot canyons, speaking of like the difference between the east and this area, Like in the east, you can get those, storms that just last for days and it just rains and rains. And sure, you get puddles, but a lot of the ground in the woods just will absorb so much of it. Kind of the opposite is true here. A lot of the, this soil is really like it just runs off the top. Like it doesn't absorb much at all. The permeability is so much lower. So what happens is rain can occur over a large area, and then it can all kind of drain into one area and cause a huge, like massive flood or a flash flood. So definitely be careful of that. So as a result, in winter, nighttime temperatures can drop below freezing, so keep that in mind. And then spring and autumn are the best times to visit Goblin Valley. Brilliantly clear, it says, which is kind of funny. I went here in the spring, but it wasn't brilliantly clear but as I mentioned, I kind of got lucky. It's kind of nice when you get days like this because you're not just getting the sun to beat down on you all the time. But that said, the famous like bluebird days where it's just like not a cloud in the sky are extremely common in this whole area. I love it. I always think I would have moved out west sooner if I knew that, because I always thought like, oh, winter they get a ton of snow and stuff. But it's really tremendously different than the east, because a lot of the storms tend to be kind of maybe intense but quick, and then it kind of clears out, which is quite nice. Whereas on the east, it can just last for days and you get kind of high temperature fluctuations. Whereas in the west, it kind of tends to stay cold. And at higher elevations, it's pretty neat. A lot of places, like in Colorado and places like that, you really only get snow. There's not too much rain in the winter, which is also pretty amazing. As far as park guidelines, camp only in designated areas. Each permit covers one vehicle and any attached recreational equipment. An extra fee is charged for additional vehicles. Up to 8 people are allowed on a campsite. Quiet hours are 10 p.m. to 7 a.m. Fires. Campfires permitted in the campground fire rings only. Most developed campsites provide camp stoves or grills. Firewood is available for sale at the visitor center. As far as pets are allowed in Utah state parks, but must be on a maximum 6-foot leash and under control at all times. Please clean up promptly after your pets. Bicycles. Bicycling is permitted on established public roads and in parking areas. Bicycles are not allowed on hiking trails in the Valley of the Goblins or off paved areas within the campground. For a map of the Wild Horse mountain bike trail system, see our website. Yeah, there are mountain bike trails here, but there are also hiking only trails. Plants and animals. All plants, animals, minerals, and other natural features in Utah state parks are protected. It is unlawful to remove, alter, or destroy them. Goblin Valley's formations are fragile. Please treat them with care. Fireworks, unless authorized by a park manager, fireworks and firecrackers are prohibited. Vandalism. It is unlawful to mutilate or deface any natural or constructed feature or structure. Please help keep our parks beautiful. Wastewater. It's unlawful to dump or drain water from campers or trailers onto the ground. A sanitary disposal station is provided for registered campers. Park location. The park is located 50 miles southwest of Green River off State Highway 24, and an entry fee is required at all times. Park is approximately 3,654 acres. Area was discovered by cowboys searching for cattle in the 1920s. Became a state park in August of 1964. The activities offered here include hiking, mountain biking, camping, photography, disc golf. Well, that's interesting. There's a unique course set among the hoodoos. I did not experience the disc golf course, but that's kind of neat. There is a visitor center as well. That's at the entrance to the park, where they also collect your fee. And as you can see here, we're kind of approaching the end. So interesting, very interesting trail. It's so cool that it's just kind of at the bottom of a drainage. Keep your eye out for these posts with arrows on them. I would recommend it. I feel like it gets overlooked a lot. Like maybe only people in the campground will use it to go over and back. But even then, they might think like, oh, 1.3 miles is too far. I would highly recommend hiking it though. Very cool. I think this park is at least worth a day of exploration. I would go and I would hike Little Wild Horse Canyon, which I have a video of if you want to check that out. It's this slot canyon, but it doesn't really require any technical skills, which is awesome. And then additionally, I would go and I would do this trail, and I would go explore this main Valley of the Goblins this is the Valley of the Goblins parking lot that we're approaching. I would go explore that because that's really cool. Also super kid friendly in there. And then I would go to Goblin's Lair for sure. So this place is worth at least one long day, if not like overnight. Like if you're ambitious, you can do it in a day. Otherwise, I'd give it 2 days. Awesome, awesome place. As you can see, there are a lot of vehicles. It can be pretty easy to get away from people too. Like the Goblin Valley is quite huge. So Entrada Canyon Trail, and then there is a grand circle which kind of goes all the way around the park, and this is kind of part of that. But as I was saying, the valley is pretty huge. So if you're just walk away, just maybe walk 20 minutes right when you first get here, you'll be away from most people because as with most places, people tend to hang out just close to the cars. But that's also what's nice about it too if you do have kids or want to stay there. So the Goblins are all to the right. You'll have to check out one of my other videos to see them. And like I said, I was super impressed. I feel like Goblin's Lair was just absolutely amazing. I love this trail, the Entrada Canyon Trail, and then Goblin's Lair are just both just such unique, awesome experiences. Highly, highly, highly recommended. So basically what I'm showing you now is down at the end of this parking lot where there are a couple pit toilets. This is where you can get to Goblin's Lair. So you could park here. You could also park at the entrance of the park and go a slightly different way. But I would I don't know. This is a fantastic hike. Like if you were staying at the campground, you could just leave from your site, go walk here, explore the Valley of the Goblins, go over to Goblin's Lair, and then you can take a different way back for an awesome full day adventure. Just make sure to bring enough water and food, of course.